Hello and welcome to the Aid Station. I'm Chris Robb, and this is a very special edition of the Aid Station because it's our first second-time guest. Today we head to Gaborone in Botswana, where we meet Lehlohonolo Makaja, who is the founder and business development lead of DiverseU. We first spoke early last year, just after COVID, and amazing things have evolved since then. And one of those is that we've recognized Lehlohonolo as our MPW Trailblazer for Africa. Great to see you again. How are you?
Uh, Great to see you again too, Chris. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And I would like to extend my gratitude to the Mass Participation World for the award. It's an incredibly amazing thing to be recognized at such a level for the little that we do in this industry. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No, it's wonderful. And I think, you've got an incredibly inspiring story to tell. What you've achieved and what you've done during these COVID times, I think is going to inspire many. But why don't we just start a little bit? And I know, some people might have seen the first episode, but just to refresh a bit about your background. Tell us the Lehlohonolo story, please.
My name is Lemaka. I'm twins of our travel startup called DiverseU. Previously, I was also the founder of Africa Trading Network, which was a startup that was connecting small medium enterprises, particularly owned by young people and women, to reach markets in the region and as far as West Africa and East Africa. So today, I'm primarily involved in sports tourism, and how I got into the industry was by chance, actually. Sometime after my university days, I was trying to figure out what it is exactly that I'm going to do with my life. So I enrolled with a youth body called ISEC. I took on a leadership development program that included me going abroad to do a voluntary exchange program as well. So I went to Ethiopia to work on a socio-economic empowerment project with women and children. And the organization that I was working with, called Nazareth Humanitarian Organization, was actually a beneficiary to the Great Ethiopian Run, which is Africa's biggest road race. So I had to participate. So there was an event that they were organizing. So we had to participate as the beneficiary of their charity program. So I was amazed. It was a spectacular event. I couldn't believe that people came from as far as Asia, from as far as Europe, all parts of the world. They just came to be part of this event. So I just had a light bulb moment to say, you know what, I think this is what people can do. People can travel from other countries just to go and run and to be part of this mass participation experience. So that is how the whole business started. And um, I also got the opportunity to meet my favorite athlete and idol, which is Haile Gebrselassie, and her wonderful team, Ms. Dagmawit Amare, and I expressed my interest to partner with them. So that was the beginning of my story in the mass participation industry.
What a wonderful story. Haile is an incredible man. I remember we brought him along to the Singapore Marathon when I used to organize that, and just so charismatic and so much fun, and obviously an incredible and inspirational athlete as well. Just quickly give us a sense, because obviously people all over the world are interested to hear what's happening in different countries. Just in a couple of minutes, what's the situation in Botswana at the moment with relation to COVID? And, are there any lockdowns? Are you starting to move forward? Are events starting to happen?
The situation in Botswana is pretty much the same from last time, except that we don't have a lockdown. But what we do have is a curfew that stretches from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning. And also uh, things like alcohol are also prohibited, except if you only have 50 people. So 50 people is the maximum you can have in an event. So that's where we are at the moment. But other than that, like everybody, like everywhere else, like everywhere else in the world, the economy is a bit it's impacted. People have lost jobs, businesses have collapsed, and you know, it's a we will see hopefully like government said they will provide a vaccine by mid-March, so hopefully things by then will improve. But so far, that is all that has to be uh, done at the moment.
Okay, so not too onerous a curfew. You can get up early in the morning and go for your run before it gets too warm and the sun comes up. The population of Botswana is not massive, is it? So from a vaccine perspective, hopefully when it's starting in March, it wouldn't take a huge amount of time. Obviously a number of months, but some light in the tunnel that the population, you could reach the herd immunity within not too many months.
Yes, yes. We are only 2 million, and the number that they gave us in terms of the first batch of vaccine is promising. I think it will cover roughly a quarter or 20% of the population, which is a good start because the cases are not so much. We have cases, yes, but not so much. And like you said correctly, the population is very small. Our entire population is probably 10% of another country, so it's manageable to vaccinate 3 million people in a short period of time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's wonderful news. Now, your story's amazing. I mean, you had this business that was built on taking people around the world. Obviously, everything stopped. You had to make this massive pivot. I remember getting a message from you at one stage saying you virtually had no money in your bank account. You were in a situation where you wanted to build this new platform from a DiverseU perspective. You wanted to employ someone to do that, but you couldn't afford it. So you taught yourself to code. Tell us the story. And you've now relaunched and pivoted, and one of the reasons why we selected you, because your story is inspirational and you're clearly a trailblazer.
Yes, thank you very much for that question, Chris. I think what you're experiencing right now is a universal event that is having an unprecedented impact, especially on the mental health of people. And for me myself, I want to start first before going to the coding. I want to start with how I deal with the impact, the mental health aspect of dealing with COVID-19, especially as a startup entrepreneur. It's very, very difficult, but I've taken up a lot of running. I've taken up a lot of fitness activities, and I do aerobics here and there with a couple of people and on the daily. So another thing that is really uh, uh, helping me a lot is my work with young athletes. I'm currently programming the training of young athletes in my area. So those are very promising young athletes ranging from short distance to long distance. Because when I was in East Africa, I spent 2 weeks with a coach called Coach Suntayo. He's the one who actually groomed the likes of Kenny the Dibala sisters, and all those. So he shared some of his I would say secrets, or he shared some of his training methods with us. He gave me a training program. So this is the opportunity that I've had to actually transfer that knowledge to the young upcoming athletes in my area, so that they can understand what it takes to be a professional athlete. So for me, part that experience is the one that is actually helping me a lot to deal with the adverse impacts of COVID-19 on my mental health. So as for coding, one thing that Chris, I'd like to point out, and this is how I feel, and this is how I always feel, and the way I always see things is that challenges and opportunities are intertwined. Where there's challenges, there's always opportunities, and at least that's how I see things. And I can speak more on the opportunities than on the challenges. So, of course, we are facing this huge challenge of converting our old traditional business model to the digital new age. And the challenge, of course, is funding and the technical expertise. I'm not skilled in coding, but I decided at one point, the last time when I was talking to you, I was actually uh, going through an online course, learning how to code. I was just going through online, and then I came across a Google program that teaches you how to code. So I learned the basics. I went on YouTube. I learned everything. I downloaded PDF material online just to get an understanding of the basics like HTML, JavaScript, CSS, everything there is to know for you to understand before you can start going in depth. So that is where I started. I can't say right now I figured the A to Z of setting up a website or an app, but at least I have the knowledge to develop a prototype that I can communicate with my partners, potential partners, or investors. So that is where we are at the moment. And I really think that COVID-19, as much as it's a bad thing, for some people it was a blessing in disguise because it's an opportunity for small businesses like ours to undergo this digital transformation. So that is where I think I am at the moment as far as that is concerned.
It's wonderful. I
And
mean, what a great and a great attitude. You know, challenge and opportunity are intertwined, and you know the point that you also make is that there's so many resources available. You don't always have to go and spend a whole bunch of money. There's so much that we can use on the internet. Tell us a little bit, because time's flying here. So just in a snapshot, just a, you know, maybe a minute of synopsis about your company and where it is now. So where you've pivoted to and what are the key things that you're focusing on.
yeah, because in our introspection process, we looked at harnessing especially the new technologies in order to stretch our vision, which is very, very global. um, we realized that the incorporation of things like artificial intelligence, virtual reality, big data, everything that is now the it in the technological space is what we we have been learning because this explosion of new technologies is a key external factor that is actually compelled us to change and reinvent ourselves. If there wasn't any of those things, we probably would have stick with the old way of doing things. And of course, like I said before, COVID gave us that opportunity to carry out extensive research and development so that we can adapt and in order to be at the competitive front when everything goes back to normal. So, in a nutshell, as a solution, is a sports-focused online travel agency that connects runners, casual runners, mostly with global races. We sort of integrate the mass participation sports experience with cultural experience, things that you can do when you're not running in a destination, so
Mm-hmm.
that our sports travelers can enjoy the destination sustainably. And also, what we do for cities and destinations is that we maximize the impact of mass participation sports industry in driving tourism to those other attractions. So basically, that is what we do in a nutshell. Because I don't know, maybe in Asia it's different, but in Africa or in Botswana, sports is really undervalued or underrated. Promotion is concerned. That uh, so that uh, that for me that I found that as an opportunity because it clearly has a lot of potential to increase the inflow of tourists towards the destinations of Ghana. So that is what we do in a nutshell, and we just provide access to information for runners. You know, we try to make our travel packages affordable. We also, if possible, working with event organizers to promote the inclusion and participation of diverse nationalities. That's the greatest we can run. We had participants from Europe, we had participants from Asia, we had participants from Botswana, West Africa. We had participants from different age groups. So that's also one thing that we look at. And also now what we are considering is how we are going to work with people who are differently able by mass participation sports. I know in Singapore, you were once part of Singapore, and in Singapore, I saw that it's really, really inclusive. There's a beautiful race for children, there's a beautiful race for people with disabilities. So we try by all means to make sure that we also cater for people of different backgrounds, people of different abilities. So basically, that is what DiverseU does. And in our reinvention process, we also try to be environmentally savvy. We're introducing ecotourism or regenerative tourism activities. So like tree planting. I'm actually building an orchard in my backyard where having a lot of trees that we're going to give out to some of our previous participants. So that is what we do at
Wonderful.
the moment.
Wow, what a great story. And yeah, like you say, the culture in Africa is amazing. You know, so so powerful, so vibrant, great opportunities for people to integrate this experience. And then, many countries in the world, obviously Asia's got incredible culture. Most places have, but often gets overlooked as people get into other elements of tourism. Look, it's as always, the time flies. It's been wonderful speaking to you. I'd love to, as I always do, end on an inspiring note. Is there something that you've experienced during this COVID story, or maybe even before, that's an inspiring story that you'd like to leave the viewers with to finish up?
I think my main outstanding story so far, as I have probably mentioned earlier, before the pandemic, our logistical partner was Ethiopian Airlines. So every trip that we undertook, we had to go with Ethiopian Airlines. So they are our logistical partners. So I have really been following what is happening in the tourism space, how the major key players are responding to the pandemic. And of course, leadership is very, very pivotal, is very, very critical at this point. And I have identified Ethiopian Airlines as an outstanding, the CEO himself as an outstanding leader in this pandemic, because many airlines, many hotels, and many key players in this tourism industry have actually went under, and they have gone liquidated. But this was not the case for Ethiopian Airlines, and many of them actually made losses. But despite losing I think they said they lost over 1 billion in revenue and like 90% of drop in international traffic, but they still managed to make some profit. And this was because they were very, very fast. They were very, very, very quick and flexible and agile in responding to the pandemic. And that meant moving their forces and resources and everything in demand to cargo, changing your passenger flights to cargo. So I think that kind of responsiveness, that flexibility, that, that quick thinking is something that really stood out for me when I'm talking about the leadership in the tourism industry. I can't look for much locally, but I have really been following what is happening in the international space, because really that is where our company is going. So I believe that in any crisis, a leader has to be creative, they have to be innovative, and they have to be resilient above all. So that is one thing that I've picked up from the CEO of the Ethiopian Airlines. So that's my inspirational leader for now. I think maybe the others will keep coming up, but for now that has to be it. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Lehlohonolo, wonderful to connect with you again. Thanks for making the time to chat. Wish you all the best on the next chapter of your journey. Congratulations on being the MPW Trailblazer for Africa, and we look forward to following your rising star and hopefully seeing you in person in the not too distant future. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.